High-functioning anxiety does not look anxious. It looks responsible and sharp and reliable, all those qualities we get usually praised for. Meanwhile, inside, the person is operating like everything will fall apart if they relax for 5 minutes. That is why it is so hard to interrupt. Because ordinary anxiety at least looks messy. It shakes, panics, spirals, it collapses in visible ways. But high-functioning anxiety gets complimented, it gets promoted, it gets called mature. And the anxiety learns this very quickly and starts dressing accordingly. Now it is not just fear. It is fear in a blazer, fear with a planner. And because the output often looks good, the pain gets buried under applause. The person may even start building an identity around being the one who holds it all together, when really they are just scared not to. So here are the 3 ways why high-functioning anxiety looks so impressive. And number 3 has been the most painful for me. So number 1, it looks like responsibility, but it is often fear wearing a good watch. This is the cleanest disguise. High-functioning anxiety makes people look incredibly responsible. They are prepared, early, thorough, considerate. They think ahead. They have backup plans for the backup plans. And they remember what everyone said 3 weeks ago and quietly adjust around it. It all looks admirable until you notice the haunted quality underneath it. That they are not always being responsible because they are grounded. They are often being responsible because the idea of dropping something, missing something, or forgetting, or being seen as unreliable feels like a small social death. So they overperform stability. They become deeply dependable, not from freedom, but from internal hostage negotiation. That is why high-functioning anxiety it gets so much praise. Anxiety that produces visible collapse worries people. Anxiety that produces polished competence gets rewarded like a gifted child. Wow, you're amazing. I don't know how you do it. Yes, because their nervous system thinks the building will explode if they sit down for 12 minutes. And the moment that starts to become visible, the glamour weakens. And so the way number 2, it looks like ambition, but often it's just a polished way of running from emotions. High-functioning anxious people often look driven, focused and productive. They have goals, projects and plans and momentum. They are always moving, which sounds wonderful until you notice how little stopping seems available to them without guilt leaking in through the floorboards. A lot of what gets called ambition is just a very socialized inability to be still. They do not only want success, they need motion. Motion keeps them from meeting whatever might rush in, and if the engine ever shuts off. Emptiness, grief, uncertainty, loneliness, and the terrifying suspicion that they do not know who they are without the next task. So they keep building, pushing, producing, improving, achieving, not always because they are lit up by desire, often because stopping feels like being trapped in a room with a very chatty demon. This is why high-functioning anxiety looks so sexy in achievement culture. Hypervigilance becomes attention to detail, and restlessness becomes drive. It is like watching someone sprint beautifully on a treadmill and calling them free. They are moving fast, they are sweating, they are impressing people, but they are still in the same room, still powered by the same invisible mechanism, and still unable to step off without feeling like something bad is about to happen. And that is what makes it sticky. If it were only miserable, it would be easier to question. But when anxiety performs well, people build altars to it. And so the way number 3, why high-functioning anxiety looks so impressive, is that high-functioning anxiety looks like emotional maturity, but it is often just self-surveillance. This one is especially sneaky because it gets mistaken for inner work. High-functioning anxious people can look very emotionally intelligent. They monitor themselves, they reflect, they think before they speak, and they may be good at regulating, good at managing tone and timing and expression and all of that. And from the outside, this can look deeply evolved. Sometimes it is. Sometimes it is also just fear of being too much, fear of being messy, fear of being disliked, or fear of conflict, fear of saying something that cannot be retracted. So the person becomes exquisitely edited. They do not only feel feelings, they supervise them. They do not only speak, they pre-clear each sentence through an internal legal department. And they do not only relate, they manage impressions while relating. This is why high-functioning anxiety gets confused with depth. The person seems thoughtful because they are thinking all the time. They seem composed because they are controlling leakage. And they seem kind because they are constantly preventing disruption. But often there is a quiet tragedy underneath it. They are not free. They are heavily monitored from within. And people love it. It makes social life smoother. It makes the person easy to rely on, easy to trust, easy to praise as grounded and wise and emotionally literate. Nobody sees the cost of being dismanaged. Nobody sees how much life gets lost when every response has to pass through fear dressed as maturity. At some point, it starts to look less like maturity and more like a hostage video filmed in very soft lighting. This is where something useful cracks open. The impressiveness loses some of its seduction. The person starts to see the difference between actual care and compulsive self-surveillance, because one is alive and the other is a museum ground. And that performance creates a strange loneliness, because the more impressive it looks, the less likely anyone is to notice the panic underneath the shine. And once that becomes visible, the spell weakens. If that lands, this is also part of what I go into my book, You Are Not Awakening, You Are Just Lonely. Final stop for spiritual seekers who can't pretend anymore. Because sometimes what looks like having it together is really a very well-defended form of disconnection. Not all competence is clean, and some of it is just anxiety that got very, very good at getting applause.